comments that I've picked up over the last couple days, and it's difficult to wrap up when there are so many things that not only capture your imagination, but capture your emotions. This morning was especially that way. I'll give just a little bit of introduction about my background because it's kind of been the pattern of each of them here today. I should also say that it wasn't until this morning that Tom said, "Well, Governor, would you do the closing?" I said, "Oh, yeah. Why not?" Because this is an opportunity not only to help young people make something of themselves, but it's an opportunity for you to take part in making something of themselves. So as I thought about some of the things I've heard over the last couple days, and this morning reinforces this one especially, this conference reminds me of how high the stakes are. Didn't you hear that a lot this morning with the very personal summaries that you heard from each of the people? And another one was education gaps are nobody's fault but everybody's responsibility. I got to thinking yesterday because, well, I started kind of like Jimmy did. In fact, I've had a moment just like that where I said, how did I ever get here? I was the second oldest of 7 children. My parents were immigrants. Grew up in an agricultural community. I think the total population is around 2,000 in southeast Wyoming. My graduating class in high school was 42. No, I wasn't valedictorian, I was salutatorian. Not sure just what that meant when you only have 42 in your whole class, you know. Kind of like Garrison Keillor said, we're all above average. I come from the state of high altitudes and low multitudes and great attitudes. Whereas Garrison Keillor said when he said, the Prairie Home Companion is brought to you in Wyoming by the Wyoming Space Administration, where if you took all the people of the state and scattered them evenly, they wouldn't be within eyesight of each other. Well, it's not quite that way, but when I listened to yesterday morning's presentations about white privilege and hoarding of education, and that those who are in the top quintile and how much easier it is for their children to go to college, or if you happen to be in the top 1% of income earners. I thought, well, that kind of characterizes me, I guess. I have that color skin. I have a simple beginning, but I've had a profound accomplishment over my life. So I thought, well, why not take the approach? It's my fault. Whatever it is that bugs you about the American education system, and higher education in particular, and the possibility or probability of young people not being able to have access to college, what do we do about it? Do we pause and say, well, it was their fault, I didn't make it? Or do we say, what can I do from here? I'll take the blame. It's my fault. Now, what do we do? And that's where we start this morning. This morning was a great capstone of what it's about, why you even attend this particular conference, why you're a part of the Alliance. How many of you will ever be somebody like Jimmy? Most of you have already been very much on an average track. I know that there's some profound stories out there because I've already heard them from several of you. But I want to say, whose ever fault it is, what are we going to do together? You've heard a lot now about what are the next steps? What are the programs that work? I particularly like the approach now of the momentum year, where we integrate all these various things together for 15 to finish. And by the way, for those of you, how many of you have kids in college right now? I think 15 to finish means to them 15 semesters, right? Mom and dad will help pay for it. Seems like they'll never get through it, but it's really scary. We have put not only our 5 children through college, but 4 of their spouses. We're currently working on 12 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild to do the same thing. And we don't gift it to them. We help them understand how they can participate in putting themselves through college. Because as I have participated in a number of activities, I have known 7 secretaries of education, worked with them personally, back to Lamar Alexander, Richard Riley, Margaret Spellings, Rod Page, Betsy DeVos, who just appointed me to another term on the board of National Assessment Governing Board, the nation's report card. Margaret Spellings, Arnie Duncan, John King. For those who feel that there's something wrong at the Department of Education or something wrong in Congress, okay, I'll take the blame. Because what's important is not who to blame, but what do I do about it? What are the next steps that we can take? I was asked yesterday more than once, how did I become affiliated with Complete College America? And it was, I'm not sure, but here's what I think happened. 20 years ago, a group of Western governors decided, well, we're not keeping up in our states to be able to provide college education for our students, and people who already had some college and no credit, or people who wanted to come to school later in life. And if we were going to be able to compete in the world and compete in our country as states, how could we increase access to higher education? How could we increase the opportunity to complete? And so we formed Western Governors University. Western Governors University just turned 20 years old this summer. It's focused on students. Student services is the top priority. That's what CCA does. We are competency-based. We take students from where they are to where they ought to be. We don't care what you've learned up to this point, but we want to document what we've learned and credit you with that knowledge. And what you need to learn from here on, help you master that and let you go at your own pace in your own place. That's a lot like CCA is advocating, except that we are still constrained by a higher education system that says, you come to us on our terms and on our schedule. And I say in today's economy, it's services-based, where the service should come to the individual as often as it could go the other way, in fact, even more so. So as we look at what we've done at Western Governors University, we've implemented and have for 20 years the whole idea of taking enough courses to graduate on time. And I can say that our average age of student, currently at 90,000 enrolled, average age is 37. They have family, they have a job, and they complete their degree in 2.5 years. It can be done if you pay attention to the student and it's on their terms, not on the institution's terms. That's how higher education still needs to change. The various activities that you've heard about today, 15 to finish, math, co-requisites, purpose, meta majors, we incorporate all those because it allows the student to stay where they are. They don't have to worry about childcare. They don't have to worry about transportation, lodging, because most of them already have it. But we not only deal with returning adults, we also deal with straight out of high school. In fact, we awarded a WGU degree to a student who simultaneously graduated from high school at the age of 17 this past year. And we also awarded to a young lady of 83. And for those of you who have ever been to Dookie Chase's, Mrs. Chase came out last night to welcome us after we had a fine meal and told us it was great that we were providing the next generation of leaders for America. And she says, and I'm opinionated, we need more women to be leaders. And she put that firmly down and said so. She said, I believe in strong women, and she's 95 years old. She was one strong woman. As we looked at each student who wants to come to the university, at the Western Governors University, we say, what is your academic readiness? Well, no, we don't really say that. We just say, what is it that you want to achieve? What is your goal? What degree? What other obligations do you have? Do you have family? What is your schedule? What is your ability to take courses online? Because it's not for everybody, but how can you do it? So what I want to do is kind of contrast what WGU has done and how it's been very effectively implemented as an integrated package, and it can be an analog for what CCA is doing, because one thing that CCA is still doing and doing extremely effectively when you look at what Colorado, Georgia, Indiana, West Virginia, Tennessee, Hawaii, Montana, CUNY, just to name a few, are doing with the principles that CCA has helped advance with a lot of support. You're still trying to help higher education work within its current structure, where we go to them, not vice versa. How can we start bringing education to the student? So, you've heard a lot this morning about people who have suffered significantly through their journey to get on with their life. So yes, we're here to comfort the afflicted, but we're also here to afflict the comfortable. That's what higher education is today. When we first formed Western Governors University, the greatest pushback, in fact, as we've moved along and created state-branded versions of our Western Governors University, there's been tremendous pushback because of the fear of higher education in individual states, that we would be taking a revenue source from them. That was their number one concern. Students are not the potential of a new future to them. Many of them view a student as another revenue source. Now, that's not completely true, but it was one of the most striking things that I found as one of the founding governors is, why are you worried about getting money from them? You should be worried about making a success of them. Because I would say that when it comes to being globally competitive, the bottom line for global competitiveness is raising our innovation potential, but there's no greater innovation than the development of a young mind. And that's why you're here. You're here to add value to that. So take a look, especially at the momentum year that Bruce brought up this morning, the examples of young people who have come back as adults. And look at the ones who are young, like Jimmy, going off to college at age 16. What can we do? Because it's not necessarily academics that holds them back, it's social and economic impacts. How can we provide that intrusive guidance? At Western Governors, we have mentors that contact every student at least once a week. Those are the progress mentors. And then we have academic subject matter experts that say if this student is having trouble, the academic mentor will help coach them, either with a cohort or individually. Those are some of the things that everyone can do at every institution. And it doesn't cost extra. Our total cost for a whole year at Western Governors University is barely over $6,000, and they can finish in 2.5 years. This isn't to say everybody should sign up for that. It's just to say we have a new model. If it fits, if it can be adapted, use it. But your starting point from here is to take what CCA has done, because it has the track record, it has the data, it has the support. We have your back. So go out and bring education to the student.